You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Enters Invincible? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of NeonZangetsu on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Listen, you too. I came to this world with a purpose. I'm practically the last of my kind. And as my eldest children, there are certain things you should know. Eve and Joshua sat before him on the grass in the afternoon sunlight, legs folded beneath them, rapt with attention. It was the latter who raised their hand. What things, Dad? Naruto smiled as a sudden surge of pride struck him. Clever boy. His son had come far from the ill-tempered brute he'd battled on the highway that day. Almost felt like a lifetime ago now, you know. By the sage, he was getting old. The thought. He'd considered flying them out to a deserted island for this to avoid any prying eyes, but thought better of it. If they were going to learn what it was to be shinobi, might as well do it in their own backward. Cecil could watch from his satellites and squirm all he liked. It wouldn't change anything. Which meant there could be no more stalling. Kurama knew he'd been dallying long enough now. But he was afraid, once he opened Pandora's box, as it were, there could be no closing it. He heaved a sigh. Let me tell you about chakra. What followed was a rigorous lesson about both the basics and the bare bones of his own education in the realm of chakra. He hadn't exactly paid attention in class as a boy. Most of what he'd learned came from trial and error, lots of errors, alongside a great many mentors. He learned by doing, not by seeing, and it reflected in his own teaching style. He'd start with Samantha and Joshua, then work his way down to the younger kids once he was certain they could grasp his teachings. In short, it lets you do all sorts of things. He demonstrated further by conjuring a Rasengan to his hands. No need to freak them out with a transformation jutsu. They weren't ready for that level of subterfuge or shinobi espionage just yet, and he preferred that card close to his chest. My blood runs thick in your veins, so you're both guaranteed to have chakra. How you use it is up to you. Joshua's eyes practically sparkled. I want that. I'll teach you it, don't worry, he preened a little. But you'll have to practice. Even leaned in, regarding the spiraling sphere in his palms. So it's like what I have. You have a form of it, yes, his head bobbed in a nod. In a way, your powers are sorta like old man Inoki's bloodline, except you can go much further with them. Question. Joshua's hand shot up. Who or what's an Inoki? Naruto couldn't quite hide his smile. An old friend. He chuckled as an image of the surly old geezer in question flitted before his mind. That Tsuchikage, that is to say Earth's shadow, would have been delighted to meet Eve. Delighted, and probably a little jealous once he saw what she could do. After all, her abilities dwarfed his own, and no, that wasn't a dig at his height, it was the simple truth. Samantha had the power to change the world. He'd seen it with his own eyes when she wiped the mind of her so-called foster parents. Even now, years after the fact, Adam and Betsy Wilkins didn't remember Eve, or him for that matter. He'd checked in on them periodically to make certain. They'd moved on and against all odds, somehow managed to have an actual child of their own. A baby boy at that. Good for them. Had either of them presented any sort of threat, he would have eliminated them by now. No one but no1 was taking his family from him. If that meant dyeing his hands red so they could keep theirs clean, well, so be it. But back to the matter at hand. Not only could she affect physical matter, but she could alter people as well, or she had been able to, for a brief moment that day. She had so much potential. If they could figure out how to breach those limits again and keep them open, then maybe they could save. A shadow fell over them and his smile faded with it. But it seems that story will have to wait. He looked up. We have a guest. Kurama stirred in his mind. Well, well. Our mysterious VYR finally reveals herself. About DMN time. He'd been wondering when Sheik would show up. Polly had even mentioned seeing her from their window, once. He'd been tempted to act then and there, but as she'd not made any aggressive moves toward them, he'd been inclined to let her be. Not so now. At a glance she seemed your everyday superhero, clad in pale cloth descending from on high, a slender beauty with dark hair and piercing eyes gliding down out the sky. She was certainly appealing, he'd give her that much. But his vision went well beyond skin deep. Her gaze was sharp, and though her body posture appeared neutral, he could tell she was ready for a fight, able to spring into action at a moment's notice. This woman was a fighter through and through, and as she alighted upon the grass before, an ugly thought occurred to him. Why was someone on Nolan's level, or maybe higher, coming down here to meet him out of the blue? Naruto Uzumaki. Her voice was a low, husky purr, brisk and efficient. We must speak. Eve and Joshua scampered behind him, afraid, but ready to fight if it came to that. He hoped it wouldn't. His kids were strong, make no mistake, they were capable, powerful even, but this woman was well out of their league. He stood a little straighter, arms spread out on either side of him to keep them back, and took a step forward, placing himself firmly in harm's way. It worked, her gaze focused on him and him alone. She only had eyes for him. You're not one of Cecil's, are you? He asked of her. The newcomer frowned. I know no such Cecil. Ha! She was telling the truth. Curious. All right, then, he glanced her up and down, frowning. Lady, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying it. How about you kindly shove off? Ignore me and your wife will die. Behind him, Eve and Joshua slammed down to their knees with a gasp and struggled to stand. Naruto couldn't blame them for their fear, the sheer killing intent he was radiating could have flatlined an elephant, and yet for all that, his newfound guest didn't budge. The way she stared at him with complete and utter certainty didn't frighten him, on the contrary, it only angered him further. A golden spark snarled between his teeth, eyes gleaming gold as he loomed over her. Was that a threat? No, her words confused him. It is the truth. There is a difference. Do you wish to save your wife? His temper all but choked the words on his tongue. What? Do you want to talk? She looked past him to his quivering children. Somewhere we can speak alone. He immediately moved to block her, eyes blazing like twin coals in his skull. Don't you dare. I will not harm them, if that is your concern. Her eyes flitted back to him with the slightest of smiles. I was merely admiring them. You made strong children. They are right to fear you. Something hardened in her gaze just then and he wasn't sure he liked it. Say your farewells and meet me in the sky over the ocean. Do not keep me waiting. Be quick. She shot into the air with a sonic boom of sound, blasting his bangs back as she perforated the clouds above. Shoulders slumping, he dropped the killing intent, exhaled, and turned to face his children. He needn't have. Eve and Joshua practically barreled into his chest. Don't worry, he drew them in for a quick hug before they could cry and held them tight. Daddy's gotta save the world again. I'll be right back. Eve clutched at him. She said she could save Mom. No way. Joshua was of an entirely different opinion. She's lying. You can't trust her. He didn't, but he wasn't about to say that aloud. False hope was the most poisonous kind. He knew from experience. And yet the woman's words nagged at him, unwilling to be ignored. But the idea of leaving the kids and Polly alone just now, vulnerable, even with his shadow clones, it didn't sit right with him. This could be a trap. An elaborate trick to draw him away, allowing his enemies to strike. Damn it all. He released them, stepped back, fished a small device from his utility belt and pressed it into Eve's hands. Go to your mother and tell her to use this to call War Woman. Tell her everything that just happened. Do you understand? She nodded. Joshua wiped his eyes fitfully. What are you gonna do? Something stupid. He delivered a quick kiss to each of their foreheads one after the other, stood up, braced his legs, and rocketed after the mystery woman. From there it took him less than an instant to soar into the clouds and leave land behind, rendering the world an indistinct gray-green, then blue blob below. From there he pivoted in search of the stranger, to no avail. Now where had she? I apologize for that remark about your mate, but it was the only way to make certain you would follow without alerting your friends. Naruto pivoted in the air, annoyed to find she'd somehow gotten behind him. And you are? You may call me many things, she planted a fist on her peach and smiled, ever so slightly. Partner, lover, mate. Whichever you prefer. But you will be mine, you simply haven't realized it yet. He didn't deign to rise to her bait, not when that was what she wanted. I'm not hearing a name amidst all the bragging. I am Anissa, the woman replied. You're certainly capable for one of your kind. Exceptionally so. His brow furrowed. One of my kind. I wish to see your strength for myself. There was something in the way she said the last words, practically purred it really, that set every fiber of his being on edge. Are you strong? He lifted his chin and crossed both arms before his chest. Stronger than you. Many have made such a claim. But before that, she lowered her arm and floated past him, regarding the ocean below and the islands dotting it. We've studied this planet. Did you know that this planet's civilization has a less than 18% chance of surviving the next 2 centuries without the loss of billions of lives? What of it? So callous, she glanced over his shoulder, mildly bemused. Do not make such a face. It is the truth. The powerful of this world destroy their own home, STRP resources for themselves, and for what? Half of this planet will soon be uninhabitable due to human greed. Yet here you are, hand in fist, worried about stopping me, instead of them. Is this part where I say it's complicated? Because it isn't, he flung a hand out toward the world below, mildly amazed to find just how little he cared for it. Oh, he felt he should, and he did, but it was nothing compared to what he felt for his family. Maybe I would have cared about that, once. But not anymore. I don't have it in me to worry about everyone or every little thing, not these days. Then you should be all the more inclined to accept my proposal. She turned to face him and floated closer. You are capable, I will admit. More than most on this world. But my people have the technology, powerful, advanced technology leagues beyond your own to repair this planet, feed its hungry, punish its criminals, and bring peace. We will save more of their lives in a single year than you could in 100. Your people, his brow furrowed. Who are your people? You're human, just like me. I am as far from human as you are, she shook her head, setting her hair swaying. You are failing this planet and its people. Do you not see that? When he didn't budge, her smile returned. Or do those lives not matter to you? You are also failing your wife. Or perhaps she is failing you. His temper sparked anew. Careful. I am being quite careful, I assure. She tilted her head ever so slightly to the right. We are not so different, you and I. Both of our people respect strength. Power. There it was again, the feeling that he was missing something. And who are your people, exactly? Anissa smiled. It was not a nice smile. Do you wish to know? I'm asking, aren't I? She shook her head in reply. You are, and yet you are not. I believe you Earth people have a saying. What was it called? Pandora's box. Well, think of this secret as a box. She mimed the actions of opening one between her hands. Once you open it, once you release it into the world, it cannot be contained again. So I ask you once more. Do you wish to know? And in knowing, do you wish to save your wife? Naruto grit his teeth. Clever, conniving little. Anissa sensed weakness and rested the onus of choice out his hands. I am an agent of the Viltrumite Empire. Although he failed to recognize the meaning of the words, they something in him all the same. That is all I will tell you, all you need to know for now. She drifted closer, near enough to touch. I see you care a great deal about your family. But this must make your decision clear. Your wife will die without our aid. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. And what will you do then? He clenched his teeth. You're offering me a lot of words, but very little proof. That will come in time. Anissa laid her hand on his, only to blink now when he jerked his arm back. Don't be so stubborn. This can be perfectly pleasurable for both of us. Scowling, she reached in and grabbed his palm by force. Lay with me. Still gripping her hand, she forced it up to her face, making him cup her cheek against his will. Have children with me, powerful Viltrumite sons and daughters. Do this, and I'll make certain your wife is saved. I will see to it personally. You have my word. The pleasures of the flesh were tempting. Terribly so. It had been so long. And in return, weak in this world, her word sent a shiver through him. Make it ripe for the coming invasion. When the time comes, when my people arrive, help us claim it. She moved her free hand up to caress his cheek. We do not wish to destroy this world but occupy it and make it a better place, not just for you and yours, but everything as a whole. Don't you want that? She leaned in, pressing her forehead to his. You fought so long, and so hard, and for what? Her lips brushed his own. Don't you deserve happiness? He seized her by the peach and made to push her away, yet that only emboldened her. She moved herself against him and kissed him fully. He bit her lip in retaliation, only for her to make a pleased noise and pull yet closer still. Polly's face flashed before his mind, bringing her words with it. I want you to be happy. Naruto jerked backward with a hiss. Maybe she was right, maybe he did deserve happiness, but not like this, not yet, not with someone like this. Not someone who just thought she could tempt and take him like this. Anissa wasn't best pleased with his actions, a look of baleful thunder flashed across her face as she redoubled her grip. Would you rather we conquer this world? She glared at him, eyes sharp. Raze it to the ground and kill all who resist. Because that's the other option. Would you rather die fighting? Bold of her to think he would be tempted so easily. You have an awfully high option of yourself and your people, you know that? Not at all, she met his gaze evenly. I'm simply honest to a fault. I like you, and I want you. We can do this the easy way, or the hard way. Which would you prefer? Neither. Foolishness. Her face closed down. After argument, logic, and my most generous offer, you still cannot see the truth. Shaking her head, she released him fully and drifted back. Fine. Remember that we started with reason, but truth be told, I was hoping for this. You'll give in to me, one way or another, even if must make you. And there it was, her true self laid bare for him to see. Laughter bubbled up in Naruto's chest. Exclamation point. He wasn't quite sure why, maybe it was exasperation, anger, despair, or some mad blend of the three. Whatever the cause, it came on suddenly and he gave himself to it fully. It began as a tiny tremor touching his lips, a snicker, a snort really, when he clamped a hand over his mouth to stifle. He couldn't control it, didn't even bother to try when the snort became a snarl of laughter, then an outright belly laugh, followed by a full-throated cackle as he threw his head back and laughed at the sun. Anissa scowled at him. Why do you laugh? What's so funny? You are. He straightened up, wiped a mirthful tear from the corner of his eye and shook his head with a sigh. I know you're kind. You may dress your words up all pretty and pretend to act civilized, but at the end of the day, you think you can waltz in and take whatever you want. I do not think, I know. She smirked without a care in the world, ignorant of the tempest she triggered. Such is the privilege of the strong. Maybe, but you made one fatal mistake. He raised his arms at his side, tucked in his fists just above his ribs and grit his teeth. And because of that mistake, you forgot something. Anissa wanted to see strength. He'd show her strength. Full blast? Yup. Had Minato, Dad, felt like this when he fought his enemies all those years ago? When his back was against the wall? When he had people to protect? When he was so completely and utterly done that he gave up talking and tore entire armies apart with his speed? Because that was how he felt in this moment, exactly how he felt. Anissa planted a fist on her peach, then leaned forward, all smiles. And what might that be? Blue eyes gleamed gold, pupils sharpening into slits. I'm my father's son. Golden chakra burst forth from him as he activated Kurama's cloak with a roar, raw energy flooded his every pore, erupting out of him in a growling geyser, a pillar of light that plowed the clouds, pierced heaven and earth and ocean alike. A miniature hurricane was born in that instant, gale-force winds ripping through the air. Anissa flung up an arm to shield her face, but he didn't miss her gazed smile, those dark eyes burning with wild light. Yes, that's it. She bared a sharp laugh, it was a low husky sound, practically vibrating with vicious, vibrant violence. Show me. He did, it took less than an instant to reach her, barely a blink to reach back and punch. His fist struck her dead in the cheek, plowed into her face and blasted her into the ocean. She struck the water with such force that her body bounced across it, once, twice, thrice now, before she finally righted herself. The moment she did, he was upon her. A roundhouse snapped her to the side in a shower of BLD, he shunted her retaliatory strike aside with an elbow, snapped her limb down, headbutted her nose and drove an open palm into her gut to stun her. Momentum blasted her backward, a proper warrior would have used that to draw back, retreat and reassess. Not so Anissa. She surged back in with a laugh and her fist slammed in at his face. He caught it, wrenched her arm down and behind her back. From there, he glared down over her shoulder at her. Had enough? Anissa most certainly had not, much to his surprise her grin only grew and she leaned into him, pressing her full figure against his chest. Enough? She tilted her head back to grin up at him, eyes bright, a wide smile wreathing her face. It almost made her look human. Why would this ever be enough? He could feel her muscles straining against his, taut and excited. You're impressive. Most impressive. I can see why you beat. He whirled and tossed her upward with a vicious twist, sending her flying into the clouds. You talk too much. Cool off in the atmosphere. The moment he turned away, her feet barreled headlong into his back, sending pain snarling down his spine. Then I'll speak another language. An elbow barreled down into her neck and plunged her into the ocean below yet again. Right back at ya. The water erupted and she was on him again, grinning like a madwoman. Yes, that's the way. Hit me harder. Naruto did just that. A vicious kick on his part caught Anissa's chin, bloodied her nose, and sent her soaring into the clouds at Mach speed. It was the work of a moment to calculate her trajectory and another to get behind her. A roundhouse barreled through her guard and launched her into the clouds once more. He kept driving at her, hammering her, until finally, she got a luck punch and that snapped his head to the side. The uppercut that followed sent Anissa hurtling up into the stratosphere like a human rocket. He flickered behind her with a scowl, palms linked overhead, fingers clasped. Anissa saw his shadow fall over her and tried to come about. Too late. Naruto brought his hand down on her head, the impact that followed actually hurt his fingers, such was his strength, but Anissa got the worse end of the deal by fair. Momentum ripped her away in a fiery comet and sent her hurtling back to earth, tumbling end over end. He considered letting her go with that, leaving her with a warning. On second thought. Anissa crashed down into an abandoned creating a crater in her wake. Credit where it was due, she propped herself up on her elbows and tried to rise, until his knee smashed into her solar plexus, drawing a pained laugh from her as 4 of her ribs shattered on the spot. She slugged him in the face for it, and he decked her in return. And still, Anissa didn't stop laughing, giggling at the top of her lungs. Belatedly, he realized he was laughing too. He just couldn't stop. His hands found her throat, choking her out, rendering her laugh a rasp. Not so nice, is it? Being on the other end. Anissa gripped his hand with both of hers and grinned up at him through bloody teeth. Harder. Naruto absolutely twitched in disbelief. Are you kidding me? You think this is funny? Don't you? She beamed back at him, all smiles. I'm having the time of my life. He leaned in, eyes ablaze, teeth bared. What am I gonna do with you? She locked her legs around his torso and kissed him full on the lips. Mwah. Polly laughed herself silly, clutched her sides, and fell over onto the bed. Naruto flushed to the very roots of his hair as she snickered at his plight. It's not funny. Yes, it is, her legs flailed weakly in the air as she continued to giggle, rolling to and fro. You beat her bloody and she enjoyed it. She's a sub. Ha. Did she call you, daddy, too? Polly. His wife's delighted laughter continued to reverberate through the house, much to his chagrin. She showed no signs of stopping anytime soon. If anything, she was tickled pink. For the life of him, he couldn't see why. This woman had threatened their children to draw him away, and yet somehow, Polly wasn't irked in the least. Did she have that much faith in him? Anissa. She rolled the word on her tongue, tasted it on her lips now as she sat up, trying to sound it out. So that's her name. Not bad at all. Tell me you didn't kill her. I did not. She waggled a brow his way. Did you at least bed her? He shook his head and a pillow bounced off it. What was that for? His wife granted him a lopsided smile. You really are too loyal for your own good. How many times do I have to tell you it's fine? I want you to be happy. A muscle jumped in his way, but he stubbornly forced it down as he scuffed a boot against the floor and glared sullenly into the bedroom carpet. Mappy with you. And you can be happy with other people, too. She patted his cheek. So, what's she like? Tell me everything. Spare no detail. Naruto did just that. Her. Long, loudly, and at length, with more than a few expletives besides. By the Polly was laughing even harder. She's a sub, definitely. His weary wife wiped a mirthful tear from the corner of her eye. For all her claims about strength and power and ego, she kept telling you to hit her harder. And you had her panting like a dog once you got her pinned. Heat crept up the back of his neck. What makes you so certain? Dear, she crossed one scarred leg over the other, inadvertently drawing his eyes there. I may not act like it much of the time, but I am a woman. A rusty chuckle escaped him. Lemme guess, you drink and know things. She beamed and mimed, holding a shot glass. Precisely. He sat beside her and she scooted closer, laying her head on his shoulder, but only for a moment. Her eyes sought his as she climbed into his lap. From there, her hands cupped his face and dragged his face down to hers. An electric thrill shot through him, causing his hands to settle on her waist, to which she deepened the kiss, planted her legs on either side of him, pushing him down. He tried to protest, fearing she'd have another relapse, but her mouth silenced his, her tongue tangling his to kill the words dead before they could ever be spoken. Are you sure? Very. She shrugged off her shirt, baring her bosom to him as she kissed his chin. I have a little energy today. I think I can act. A violent cough rattled her body, racking her with spasms. Polly? I'm fine. She waved his concern down frantically as her breathing evened out. Just let me breathe, oh damn it. He tugged her hand away from her mouth and saw the BLD there. Sorry. You have nothing to be sorry about. He laid a hand on her shoulder. Anissa said her people could treat you. Oh, honey, I'm still alive. She stifled another cough behind a palm. Thinking of the future now will only ruin the present moment. Something gleamed behind her bright eyes and he wasn't sure he liked the look of it. Speaking of which, where is our resident invader now? Here at last, he smiled. With the kids and under heavy guard. Her face lit up at that. They wanted to meet her. I wouldn't say meet so much as beat. Oh, I'm sure they had a few choice words for her. He found Anissa exactly where he'd left her, standing in the living room with the kids dangling off her like a living jungle gym. Joshua was trying to drag her down to the ground by the throat from behind, Samantha had a hold of one arm, then Jessica and Luca her legs, while Amanda, still youngest of all, had contented herself to sit on her feet. It served as a somewhat strange sight by itself, all things considered, yet oddly enough, she wasn't trying to hurt any of them. Not that she could mind you, given she was being watched by no less than 3 shadow clones, each more than capable of intervening if she tried to do anything foolish. And yet there she stood, her face carved from stone, seemingly resigned to her fate. Fine by him, humiliation was the least of her punishment. A mighty Viltrumite, reduced to a child's plaything, and all because he'd told her to stand still. How quaint. He flicked out his phone and snapped several pictures, to her eternal chagrin. Anissa's head whipped his way with such force that she nearly broke her neck. Delete those images at once. That depends, he held the phone over her head, are you strong enough to take this from me? Her face turned a pretty shade of pink. No. That's what I thought. She squirmed a little, and belatedly, he realized what she wanted. Do it. He sighed. Kurama, no. Come on, what's the harm? Do it. No means no, fuzzball. Do. It. Alright. Twist my arm, why don't ya? He patted Anissa's head, idly musing up her dark hair. Good girl. She tucked her chin into her chest and refused to look at him, but he didn't miss the pleased smile she wore, nor the sudden flushing of her face. Red. Her face was so red like roses right now. Bloody Viltrumintes. He would never understand the lot of them. They claimed to represent absolute strength, and yet Anissa had rolled right over him once he beat her into the ground, and now she was blushing like some stricken schoolgirl. Where had the wicked warrior gone, the cruel conqueror, the monster who'd threatened his children just to get his attention? She was practically a puppy now compared to the bloodthirsty beast he had beaten down only a few hours ago. Perhaps that was an understatement. Kurama chortled softly in his head. Almost like a in. Come on, man. There are children present. Deawad. Why isn't she dead? Eve's whine drew him back to the present, and belatedly he realized his children were clamoring for his attention. Her and Joshua perhaps loudest of all, the others hadn't been present when she ambushed him, but now they were glaring daggers at the intruder in their home. Well, he supposed they thought she was an intruder. Now, he held up his hands before his children could start World War III, death is too good for her. Besides, he let his gaze settle on said Viltrumite with intent, daring her to object. Your mother wants a word with her, which means Anissa and I have come to an arrangement. That said, she's sorry for what she did now, isn't she? Anissa held her tongue right up until he began cracking his knuckles. Yes, she muttered under her breath, bowing her head low, cheeks flushing. My apologies. It won't happen again. Samantha smiled. Good. Crack. An open palm shrouded in pink light struck Anissa's face at Mach 1, snapping the older woman's head back with an audible crack to knock her airborne, sending her rocketing upward. No sooner had she done so than Eve conjured a wall of pure energy and pinned her against the ceiling, crushing her there. He didn't miss the Viltrumite's startled expression, not in the least, and so he stood by as his eldest daughter floated up her way, grabbed her by the hair, and smashed her forehead against hers. Because if you ever, and I mean ever, try to hurt any of us, I'll kill you. Joshua whistled down below as the other children applauded her brutality. Sis. Anissa stared at her for a long moment, then looked back to him with a smirk. You've raised your offspring well. They'll grow up to be strong. Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose to stifle a small smirk. I don't want to hear that from you. Eve reluctantly released her, allowing her to alight upon the floor once more. Little. Jessica raised a hand. How do we know you're stronger than her? Oh, that's easy. He grabbed the recovering Anissa by one wrist, wrenched her arm behind her back and planted a boot there. Heel grinding against her spine, he drove her down to her knees. Much to his annoyance, she gasped happily at the pain, face flushed. Harder. Eve and Joshua absolutely gagged. Yo. Gross, gross, gross. Naruto heaved a sigh. Seem this is my life now. Polly leaned back into her pillows, wearing a smug smile. Well, well. Aren't you a beauty? You must be Anissa. It's a pleasure to meet you face to face. The warrior lifted her chin to meet her stare. This is not the first time we have met. His wife tittered dangerously. But it is the first time we've spoken, silly girl. A spark passed between the two women. Yeah, not getting between that. Nope. Naruto dragged a hand across his face. No doubt she was talking about the time they'd seen her spying on them from afar. Sneaky little VYR. In truth, he half expected Anissa to bite back at that little bout of verbal assassination. Imagine his surprise when she didn't. Instead, she tilted her head just so. Correct. And you are stronger than appear. Stronger than you know. His wife steeped her frail hands and laid her chin atop them. So I've been told. I understand you have designs on my husband. Anissa nodded. Your mate, yes. Husband. Polly corrected her with a smile. It was well he could call it a nice smile per se, but it wasn't nasty either, more of a smirk bordering on a sneer. I don't know how Viltrumites do things where you're from, but here we hold on to the ones we love. She laughed suddenly, a soft yet brittle sound. Times like these reminded him why he loved her Brooklyn accent. It never really emerged unless she was riled up like this. That earned a baffled blink from the warrior woman. Love? Oh, dear. Polly's smile thinned. You don't know what love is, do you? I am familiar with the concept, but I fail to see how that factors into this equation. He could sense the lie, plain as day. She was masking, trying to hide her true intentions from Polly. It wasn't working, of course. She'd always been clever. Seems I have my work cut out for me. His wife's bright gaze flicked back to him, and too late, he glimpsed a spark of impish mischief therein. He's quite the catch, isn't he? Oi. Anissa nodded. He is. He's even better once you get his trousers off and... Kurama cackled as heat speared up the back of his neck and lanced into his cheeks. Ladies. I am standing right here. Yes you are, dear. Polly patted his head. Which is precisely why we're having this conversation. Don't I get a say in this? Polly giggled. Nope. I really think I... Nope. Listen. Her laughter overrode him. Nope. Blast. He forgot just how damnably stubborn she could be when she wanted something. Even with her body broken, her mind remained sharp as a tack, no, sharper. As her physical form faded, she'd only become more brilliant in his eyes and all the more determined to live with what little time she had left. It was so easy to forget sometimes. You should listen to her. Anissa butted in. Your mate wife is clearly a warrior of the mind. She wants what's best for you. Polly hummed dangerously at her. Should I take that remark as an insult or a compliment? The latter, came the reply. It is highest that I can think to give you at the moment. She licked her lips luridly and beckoned her way. You'll do. Come here. Anissa needed no more encouragement. She stalked forward to the bed. Naruto dug his heels in and didn't budge, even when she began to disrobe. Polly noticed naturally, of course she did. She was his wife. She'd always been able to read him like book. She didn't make any demands of him, nor did she try to command him. She simply held out a frail hand in silent invitation. It was for him to take, or not at all. You really want that THRSM, don't you? She granted him a lopsided grin. It's on my bucket list, so screw it. If she was pushing this hard for it, he might as well indulge her. It was the least that could do. Rolling his shoulder, he stalked forward, shedding his shirt as he went. The smile on Polly's face lit a spark in his deepest heart of hearts. He made it halfway to the bed before Anissa grabbed his arm and yanked him down to join them. Wits aside, she flicked a glance up and down Polly's body as they helped her undress. Your body is frail. How do you intend to engage in such activities? His wife laid back, gasping as the latter kissed her collarbone, then her neck, followed by her chin. Slowly, gently, carefully. Naruto drew her into his lap, relishing in the delighted noise she made as her lips found his. A portal burst open behind them, swirling with green light. Angstrom Levy came tearing through from within, paused at the sight of them, then balked. Oh. His eyes widened, then his face reddened. I'm not interrupting, am I? Polly hummed. Not at all. Not yet. Anissa growled under her breath, one arm over her bosom. Speak quickly before rip out of your tongue. None of that. Naruto drove the flat of his hand into the back of her head, drawing a whine from her. No violence. But whyyyy. Because he's a friend, he chided her, gaze sweeping back to the dimension hopper. And he better have a good reason for interrupting. Angstrom stepped back with a sweeping bow and indicated the portal from whence her came. I have something wonderful to show you, but it seems you're a bit occupied at the moment. He scratched the back of his head with a rueful laugh. I suppose it can wait. Tada. Quick as can be, he hopped back through and vanished, leaving them to their debauchery. Silence reigned, but only for a moment. Its reign was brief and ended quickly. Now, then. Naruto shared a glance with Anissa. Where were we? Polly saw it and grinned impishly up at them. Be gentle. They jumped her. Anissa lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. It held no answers for her. Nor did the fan above. On and on it turned, round and round it went, a cycl without end. Were she the philosophical sort, she might have made a remark about the circle of life, or perhaps the endless loop of violence her people had become mired in as of late. She was more than powerful to reach up and crush said spinning device if she wished, but breaking it wouldn't change anything, wouldn't stop the cycl. It would just be more of the same, strength over substance, and with it, the slow death of the Viltrum Empire, not in glorious battle, but dying a death of 1,000 cuts. And there wasn't a DMN thing she could do about it. Ha! The irony almost made her laugh. Deep thought had never been her strong suit, she often did as she pleased, when she pleased, with whom pleased her. Such had been her way for hundreds of years now. She lived by strength, followed strength, and one day, she would die to someone stronger than her. It wasn't the best life, but it was her life and she'd been not content, not satisfied, not really, but willing to put up with it. Until her world turned upside down. Suddenly, she wasn't the strong one anymore. Or rather, she still was, but she'd found someone stronger than her. Been beaten, battered, broken, bent over and bred. Truth be told, she rather enjoyed that last part in particular, having experienced it most thoroughly these last few days. Over and over. Turning her hand about, she smirked and regarded the bite indentation upon her knuckles fondly, a mark. Hard enough to bruise. It would vanish in time, as all her injuries inevitably did, but she would remember this mark. This, and every other left upon her body. Each one had been etched into her memory, never to be forgotten. Rough SEC was the best SEC, she found. Pure, no holds barred, coital bliss in its finest form, two warriors marking one another over and over. A seething carnal haze in which she could dominate and be dominated in return. Mostly the latter, if she was being wholly honest with herself. She wouldn't be walking straight for the rest of the day, already she found herself looking forward to the next round. There it was, her problem. Did they ruin her? Or had she simply been ruined to begin with? That was the question, wasn't it? She was a proud warrior of the Viltrumite Empire. She'd murdered so many she'd long since lost track. Planets quaked when they heard her name. Civilizations surrendered when they saw her in the skies of their world. Yet here she was, wearing not a stitch of clothing, having a lazy day in bed, uncaring as the afternoon sunlight poured in through the window. It had taken less than a month to break her down. She'd let herself be domesticated. Once upon a time, the concept might have galled her. Going native, they called it. Soft. Not long ago, she would have happily raised this planet in the name of glory. Now she found herself thinking of children. The oldest girl of Uzumaki, Eve, absolutely loathed her. The second oldest, Josh, tolerated her. The remaining spawn of Uzumaki were a mixed bag. All in all, the children were tolerable. She didn't want one of her own. No. Nay. Never. She'd break the jaw of anyone who said otherwise. Thrag would chide her for such weakness. Conquest would beat her to death. Thula would scoff. Nolan. What was Nolan playing at? He was the one who'd asked for her help in the first place. Did he know this would happen? Had Bea betrayed the cause? Had she? Since her defeat, she'd scarcely left the house, much less this room. Was she addicted? Brainwashed? Intoxicated? Yes to numbers 1 and 3, not so 2. She didn't have an answer. And so her brow furrowed as she kept staring at the ceiling, lost in her own thoughts all alone. Just what the hell am I doing? A soft sigh beside her answered that question. Enjoying yourself? The Viltruman woman rolled over, naked as the day she'd been born, without an iota of shame. Besides, she didn't have the energy to rise at the moment. Polly Uzumaki stared back at her, pale hair covering her right eye, one arm sprawled out over a pillow, wearing nothing but a smirk and a thin sheet. Weak. Human. Frail. These were the thoughts she had when she saw her. And yet she was the husband of her mate. Anissa still didn't understand the concept of marriage, but she knew it must have taken a great strength indeed to stuck Naruto Uzumaki. Not the physical sort, either. Something on your mind? The dying woman smiled at her benevolently. You've been glaring holes into the ceiling for an hour, now. She scoffed and turned away. Uzumaki left again. His wife giggled. Naruto does that. He's a busy fellow. You should try it, sometime. Anissa clicked her tongue, refusing to look her way. Try what? Being a parent. Irk. Her imagination took the words and ran away with them, imagining a babe in her arms, a squalling infant with her eyes and hair color. Not now, of course. Polly sat up and began binding her hair into a loose ponytail, the action of which granted her a glimpse of the scars on her back. But maybe someday. It's a wonderful feeling. You'd enjoy it, I think. Anissa scowled her way. You shouldn't be up. Dear girl, I'm hopped up on enough painkillers to floor an elephant. I'll be fine. If any harm befalls you in his absence. None of that. Polly swept a hand back without looking and slapped her hindquarters, a gesture so weak she barely felt it. I'm dying, I'm not naive. When my time comes, my time comes. I've made peace with it. She bit her lip. Death is for the weak. Is that what you believe? A bright eye peeked over her shoulder, gleaming impishly. By rights, you could kill me here and now. I wouldn't be able to stop you. And unleash the fox's wrath? I think not. HMHMMHM. Polly hummed smugly. You know, it's not too late, Anissa. You can be happy. You can redeem yourself. You can have everything you've ever wanted. She huffed, crossing both arms over her uniform. And you believe that you know what I want? Naturally. Polly folded both legs beneath her, demure and seemingly healthy as can be. Anissa wasn't fooled. She could see the bone beneath the scarred skin, the veins pulsing within. They were more visible today than they had been yesterday. Her condition was worsening. I believe you want 3 things. Holding out a pallid hand, she began to count down from 3 fingers. Strength. She had her there. Then, we have security. Also not incorrect. She held value in a given hierarchy. Last but not last, there's affection. True, she did rather enjoy being held, to say nothing of cuddles gah. Anissa choked. Nonsense. No. Polly tilted her head. You melt whenever Naruto and I touch you. Didn't you let both of us spoon you last night? Anissa made angry Anissa noises. Don't make me break your neck. He doesn't realize this, naturally. Uzumaki's wife hid a giggle-turned cough behind one hand. He's a bit dense at times. Stubborn, a wry smile peeked out behind her palm. But he's stronger than you. And getting stronger every day. Nonsense. Surely he couldn't exceed Thrag. Her Viltrumite instincts howled against it, and yet. A pale finger tapped the bridge of her nose, snapping her back to reality. Love is a wonderful thing, Anissa. Polly leaned back, unafraid of her. Marriage, even more so. Someone to have and to hold, till death do you part. It's a shame your culture doesn't recognize it. She batted her hand down, annoyed. And yet you seek other paramours for him. Because I care. Undaunted, Polly reached out yet again, taking a hold of her face in a rare act of intimacy, one Anissa reluctantly allowed, so entranced was she by her voice. I'll die someday. The wife rolled her eyes when she said it, as though it were a matter of fact, inevitable really. Maybe not this year or the next, but with my broken body, after what the GDA did to me, I won't live to see 100. Her lips pinched a little at the mere mention of her mortality. And even if I did, Naruto would still outlast me. What will he have in 500 years? Anissa blinked, realizing Thing Woman wanted an answer. Your children. Polly tooted and pinched her cheeks. Eve, maybe, assuming she ever masters her powers, but I doubt her siblings will live that long. So what will he have? She was leading her somewhere with this, or maybe she was misreading her. Still, she had to ask. Me? Pole's head bobbed in a nod. You. The realization floored her, worse than any punch. Anissa went still, momentarily unable to process it. You're entrusting him to me? Consider it a trial run. You're the first one to get a reaction out of him in years besides War Woman, and she's a whole other kettle of fish. Who? What is this kettle of fish of which you speak? Don't worry, she took one hand from her face to wave it about. I'm working on her. Regardless, to me, my husband's happiness matters more than my own. Here at last, a rare expression flashed across the mortal's face. He's been through so much, suffered in silence for so long, I want to take that sadness and sorrow and smother it, drown it beneath an ocean of joy, and if I have to get him a DMNHRM to do so, then so be it. You want him, too, don't you? So. Drawing her in, she kissed her forehead. Take a leap of faith and help me help him. Whatia say? Anissa blinked, puzzled by the saying. Why leap when you can fly? Polly burst out laughing. No, it's a saying, you silly goose. I am not some feisty fowl. Polly's laughter redoubled, until a coughing spasm overtook her. Ack, Gasping a little, she wiped a thin line of BLD from the corner of her lips. Don't make me laugh so much. What I'm trying to say, is that this planet could be good for you. Hadn't it been already? She certainly told a tantalizing tale, and she and Naruto had more than tempted her with their bodies. No, focus. How so? Another kiss followed, this one lingering on her lips. Because your people know nothing of love. There it was again, that damnable word she didn't understand. She huffed and drew her close, pressing her sickly visage against her bosom. Lust will suffice. Polly grinned between her melons, showering them with kisses. Is it? Anissa hissed, and not from dismay. Stop that. Why? Another kiss. Am I distracting you? No, she growled, not at all. Yes, she was. This weak waif of a woman sitting in her lap, she had no powers, no strength, her remaining lifespan might well be measured in months rather than years. And yet she had a different sort of strength. It would be easy to end her, break her body, but her mind would never break. Not even before monsters like Conquest or Thrag. Wait. When had she begun to think of her own kind as monsters? It's this place, she realized, panicking. This planet. They're getting to me. Was that Nolan's plan? Or had he fallen prey to this earth weakness as well? She should say something, she should warn them, she should. Polly looped both arms around her neck, using her as leverage to hoist herself upright before locking both legs around her waist. I see the way you look at him. She kissed her neck, sending a shiver shooting through her. He could give you a child. Lips brushed the outer lobe of her ear. A son. Would you like that? Anissa shot to her feet, red-faced and embarrassed. Enough. Unfortunately she dragged Polly with her, still firmly secured against her lap, hanging onto her for dear life. Naruto's wife smiled dauntlessly, wholly unafraid of being dropped. That feels nice. Not so Anissa. In a panic and terrified of what would happen should she harm her, the Viltrumite warrior sat back down, but the moment she did, Polly writhed upright to pin her against the pillows. One hand caged her wrists, while the other dipped lower, tracing past her stomach lower still. Lower. You'll be there to keep him occupied, Polly crooned seductively, nuzzling her nose with her own. And when I'm gone, you'll be the one he looks to for strength. Doesn't that sound lovely? He doesn't want to be occupied, and he doesn't want me. Anissa gasped, peach bucking as she mewled at her touch. He wants you. You're the only one who matters. Polly kissed her, silencing her protests, and I want him to be happy, hun. It's the same thing, really. Now hold still and let me make you happy. Anissa tried to protest, really she did, but it was no use. Blasted woman was very good at what she did. Resistance was futile. In a matter of moments, she was crying her name. Polly. Almost on cue, a portal opened behind them, swirling with green light. Angstrom Levy poked his head through. Is now a good time? Polly leaned back, pouting in annoyance. No. I need to make this girl cry my name at least 3 more times before I'm satisfied. Yes. Anissa yelped out, peering past her captor in a panic. Save me. He looked between them, noting their nakedness. From what? Polly tumbled off her with a sigh. Relax, Levy, Naruto's not here. Did you need something? He's isn't. The Dimension Traveler chuckled. I suppose that's perfect timing, then. We can surprise him. Anissa blinked. Surprise him? Naruto's wife clapped her hands, delighted. Is it finally finished, then? Angstrom sketched a deep bow and gestured to the portal. Come and see. I hate her. Mark ducked a punch. Eve. I hate her. Blocked a kick that came barreling in at his face. Will you just? I hate her. Alright, all right. I get it. He hastily caught the right cross she threw at him, clumsily blocked with his forearm, then struck out at her ankle with his heel to trip her up and send her sprawling. Stop trying to murder me. Train with me, she said. Come on, it'll be fun, she said. You'll learn how to fight, she said. Lies. To her credit, Samantha righted herself slowly on the grass and didn't attack him again. Maybe it was the grimace on his face that did it, or the bruise on his cheek. Maybe it was the wary look in his eyes. Maybe she finally realized just how close she'd come to hurting him. Regardless, she tucked her head into her chin and glared at the ground as she mumbled something under her breath. RRY. The younger Grayson planted a hand to his ear, cocking his head just so. What was that? She looked up at him with a sniffle, eyes wide and watery. Sorry. Irk. His heart. Girl had no business being that cute. He flailed for a new topic. Is she really that bad? Anissa is the literal worst. Eve tore up a chunk of his yard with her powers and flung it into the air. She's been squatting in our house forever. Why do Dad and Mom even keep her around? Mark winced at the gaping hole she'd left behind. Don't forget to put that back, or Mom'll freak. Eve huffed, but did as he bid. He patted her head, causing her to lean into him. All the way into him, you know. He was growing up, and so was she. His poor heart. Distraction. Now. You said your folks like her then, shouldn't you? She squirmed against him. Why should I? She threatened to kill me and my siblings. Yikes. Josh hadn't been kidding. She really was pissed off. And didn't she get beat up for that? Eve went back to glaring at the ground again. Well, yeah. And she apologized after? Sure. Has she done it again? A sullen growl was his reward. No. He shrugged. Then it's all good, yeah. Eve glared up at him. You're supposed to be on my side. Whoa, angry friend. I am. He flung up his hands. Definitely. 100%, no 1000%. She squinted at him, still doubtful. Josh didn't put you up to this? Nope. You hesitated. Dunno what you mean. Warily, he slung an arm around her shoulders and steered the conversation to safer waters. Look, your powers are badass. Hers aren't. If she does trying anything you can, I dunno, toss her into the sun or something. Much to his horror, Eve actually seemed to genuinely consider it. You think that'd kill her? Eve, no. I was joking, he pinched her cheek, drawing a whine from her. No tossing people into the sun. Supervillains do that. You're not a villain. Annoyed, she batted his hand away. Didn't your dad drop somebody from orbit the other day? Yeah, but the guy lived. How? I dunno. Besides, I'm sure he had his reasons. Her brow furrowed. For letting someone almost burn up in the atmosphere. Now it was his turn to bridle, just a little. His temper stirred and he stubbornly quashed it down. Eve didn't understand. She thought her pops was the best hero, and maybe he had been, once upon a time, but his dad was the greatest hero ever. Nobody could say anything bad about. Omni-Man, Mark wouldn't believe it. He absolutely refused. Look, he managed, gritting his teeth to force a smile, I don't have my powers yet, so I can't pretend to understand what it's like. If I want to fly, you have to help me. If a bad guy starts smashing up the street, all I can do is run away. If the world needs saving, I have to watch and hope for a miracle. Eve squirmed all over again. Mark. He took his arm from her shoulders. I guess what I'm trying to say is, be grateful for what you have. You're like, probably the most amazing person in the world. I'm just, me. You're not just you. She grasped his hand before it could fall. You're the best boy I know. That's kinda of you to say, but... She took a deep breath, steeled herself, and then, you wanna go out? He blinked, floored by the sudden question. Out where? No, no, she waved her hands, flailing a little. I mean out. Like out, out. I don't follow. Eve kissed his cheek. Out. Oh. Realization broke like the dawn, and a glorious dawn it was. To be fair, Mark thought most girls were icky. But not Eve. No, never Eve. Aren't we a little young for dating? Mom always says the earlier bird gets the worm. Or the fish, she tapped a finger to the chin. I'm pretty sure it was the fish. Besides, that Amber girl across the street kept staring at you. Huffing a little, she drew his arm closer, all but hugging his limb. She can't have you. You're mine. Mark snorted, shocked and awed and bemused all at once. Samantha Eve Uzumaki, was that a joke? His best friend and maybe girlfriend grinned. Maybe. Come on, let's get some ice cream. My treat. She took flight, taking him into the air with her. She held his hand the entire way. Best day ever. This was the worst day ever. Naruto took a seat before Cecil, and planted his arms on the table, face carved from stone. Cecil stared back at him, wearing a grimace all his own. The very world seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Neither budged an inch, but then, finally. One of them spoke. Let's talk. Naruto felt good. More than good, he felt strong, back to his prime, better even. Amazing what a little prep time could do, no? Alright, a lot of prep time. But still. Grinning, he pushed off against the weight, trying to grind him down with both hands, forcing the massive hydraulic press back through sheer force. He felt the machine try to resist, try to hold, but it couldn't. Not against him. Sure enough, it began to buckle, as all machines did, until finally, with an angry squeal of steel, it yielded to him. Blue eyes bled red as he fed more chakra to his muscles, the golden shroud around him gleaming a baleful shade of smoldering scarlet. Pushing harder, he forced it up until he felt something given the machine, and with a triumphant twist of his wrists, he tore the whole thing free from its mooring and flung it across the room. Startled scientists and terrified technicians fled in droves, scattering like ants before an earthquake. The machine cared not for them, it landed hard upon steel-plated flooring, gouging a great deal as it went before, finally striking a wall where it came to a juddering halt. Naruto sprang to his feet, quite pleased with himself. There, laughter bubbled out of him, darkly exultant as he pivoted to face the responsible party. Satisfied now? Director Cecil Stedman regarded him from a raised platform above, the ladder of which lowered after a moment's pause to bring them face to face. Donald adjusted his glasses beside him, rattling off the readings from an electronic tablet of some sort. Speed, strength and stamina all increased by a percentage of. He choked on the last word and tugged at his collar, visibly distressed. Cecil glared at him, scarred face twitching in agitation. Well? Don't leave us in suspense. Spit it out. Yeah, Donnie, the blonde in question crooned, knowing full well what the answer would be. Tell M. It's over 9,000, sir. Naruto couldn't quite contain a bark of laughter. A pall fell over the entire room as everyone heard those words. Judging by the smell, someone had soiled themselves. Having a sensitive nose came with some drawbacks, you know. Still, he lifted his chin and preened, basking in their fear as much as their adulation. Maybe they'd remember this the next time one of their number got uppity ideas about experimenting on him and his. Cecil whistled, alarmed, but quick to hide it like the soldier he was at heart. Neat trick. How'd you pull that off? Lemme guess, push-ups, sit-ups and plenty of juice. Oh ho ho, so he did get the reference after all. Always nice to treat with someone who appreciated the classics. Even if he didn't entirely trust him. What can I say? He shrugged a shoulder, reveling in his former friend's scowl. I trained all day yesterday. Now you're just yanking my chain. Since when could you pull off a stunt like that? Recently. And it ain't a trick. He sucked in a deep breath and let it out in a cloud of scalding steam as the last of his overcharged chakra bled off, leaving him a little winded. It's a form achieved through sacrifice, taking two forms of energy and smashing them together to create something new. Alongside a great deal of pain, but he was hardly about to reveal that to someone who might become his enemy. Still, Cecil wouldn't be Cecil if he didn't ask. What kinda energy we talking about here? He quirked a brow. Does nuclear fusion ring a bell? Cecil blanched. Well, SHT. Bingo. Used to be it would kill me. He held up a clawed hand, watching idly as the jagged digits shrank back into human fingernails. It's not a form Kurama and I particularly enjoy using regardless. And let me guess, you've perfected it? Not perfect, he wagged a finger his way, chiding him sternly. Nothing's perfect. I'm just become more efficient at bleeding off my life force. Donald grimaced. Isn't that unhealthy? He grinned. I've got a lot. Every Uzumaki does. Remind me to tell you about Mito Uzumaki sometime. Who? No one you need concern yourself with. He changed the subject before the man could try to dive into his ancestry. You know, I could probably lift something heavier if you like. The bespectacled man took a step back, sputtering at the very notion. Please don't, that was the heaviest weight we had. At the moment. Cecil interjected. Give us time, I'm sure we'll cook up something that'll blow your socks off. Naruto grinned toothily. Make as many toys as you like, I'll happily break them all. Kurama batted the back of his head. Oi. Right, don't provoke them. Cecil had offered him the proverbial olive branch by allowing him to use this facility in the first place, so he knew he should respond in kind. After all, he was here to make peace. More or less. How's the eye? He asked, just a little spitefully. The man touched a hand to the right side of his face, and the eye patch there. Hurt like AB, thanks for asking. Come on. Without waiting for his answer, he pivoted on his heel and turned to leave. We have what you asked for. Naruto planted both hands in his pockets and moved to follow, shoulders tense, just in case it came to a fight. I'm surprised you had the guts to go through with it. Cecil glanced over his shoulder, glowering at him with his good eye. What can I say, you said a PND of flesh, more or less, and I need my hands. Think of it as a peace offering. Peace, huh? It certainly spoke well of Cecil that he'd been willing to maim himself in the first place. Most would have balked at it, tried to beg, plead, escape even. And yet he hadn't. He'd taken responsibility, and an eye, without missing a beat. In that, at least, he had proven himself honest. Glad to say you're being reasonable about this, his would-be ally muttered as he led him deeper into the White Room, past another array of experiments. Naruto glowered at his back. Was what happened to my wife and kids reasonable? Come on, kid, you know I had nothing to do with that. Your organization did. You're lucky I haven't burned the GDA to the ground. It wasn't an idle threat, and they knew it. He was still working his way through the ranks, eradicating anyone connected to the project without hesitation. Most of them had died. Slowly. Others gave their cohorts up in an ugly attempt to save their own hides, not that it did. For all his cut and burn approach, however, he still hadn't found the true mastermind behind it all. Hence why he was here today, treating with the man he'd once called friend. I appreciate your restraint. Cecil paused before a keypad and placed his hand upon it. Heaven knows that's in short supply these days. Do you? Seems like you're still treating me as a threat. Cecil sighed. I treat everyone as a potential threat, you know that. He made a fair point there, loath though he was to admit it. From there Cecil lifted his eye patch, exposing a bionic red eye. A scanner flashed forth, followed by a distinctly metallic chime and door irised out of the metal, permitting him access. He strode through and Naruto stalked after him, only to pause when he saw what lay within. He'd expected an ambush. There wasn't one. Instead, a simple room awaited them beyond, replete with bland, padded white walls and folding table replete with 2 cushioned chairs and a bottle of water set before each. Cecil took one, pulled out a chair, sat and gestured for him to do the same. Naruto lingered at the threshold. Padded walls. Really? Do you think this place would hold me? Cecil shook his head. Not at all. It's for my protection as much as yours. A muscle jumped in his jaw. How so? In case you decide to throw me. Ah. He supposed that was fair given his temper, but trust didn't come so easily to him these days. He stayed put. Cecil noticed. For the love look, the walls aren't reinforced, and even if they were, we both know you could blitz your way out of her faster than I could teleport. Isn't that expensive? Very, he clicked his tongue, grimacing at the mere mention of it. So don't make me do it. Fine. He wasn't going to get any intel lingering out in the hall like a little bee, so he took the plunge, grabbed a seat, and flounced into it. Cecil sighed heavily through his still-mending nose. So, are we square? That depends entirely on you. He met his gaze with a blank stare of his own. You gonna give Brandyworth his job back? Guy's practically an uncle to my kids, but he's been out of work long before this whole debacle started. Dr. Elias Brandyworth, Cecil emphasized the man's full name and rank, will be gainfully employed by the GDA first thing tomorrow morning. We'll put him to work making up for his past mistakes. Mistakes? A muscle jumped in his jaw at the phrasing. The man was practically an uncle to Eve and my kids. If you've harmed him. You think I have a death wish? He's fine, will be fine, he amended at his cross look. You have my word. Words, words, words. That was what it came down in the end, didn't it? Planting one fist on the table, he leaned forward to glower at the maimed soldier. You once told me something, we can either be the good guys, or we can be the guys that save the world. Yeah, I said that. Why? What are you up to? You need to change that viewpoint of yours, it's gonna land you in hot water one of these days. He held up his free hand, palm open, then his fist, weighing them both before him. I like to think of myself as the good guy, and I've saved the world on a daily basis. After everything that's been done to me, I could have easily become a villain. Who's gonna stop me? Nolan. Kid, I get your point, but I've got literal powerhouses flying around my country and you. He palmed his forehead, then proceeded to drag said hand down his scarred face. You're the equivalent of a living nuke who just bench pressed enough weight to lift a freaking planet. What's next? The moon. A blonde brow rose. If I must. All right, fair play. He held up both hands to ward him off. Have it your own way. You said you had information for me. That was the deal. I take your little test and you give me the guy who started this mess. Cecil grimaced. I do have information, he hedged, but you might not like it. I'll be the judge of that. Fork it over. Cecil withdrew a file from his jacket and slid it across the table. You're welcome. Naruto tore it open with a flick of his wrist, parting the manila envelope with ease. Almost immediately a file slid out, and with it a pair of faded photographs, each worn by time. In the left a costumed face stared back at him, wreathed in emerald green. The other was a more familiar visage. One he hadn't seen in years. A bald African-American man, possibly in his late 30s, with something of an athletic build. His face was friendly, his smile warm. His eyes widened. Is this? Green Ghost. Cecil reaffirmed with a nod, tapping the photo with a finger. Not the current one with the Guardians, the original, back in our heyday. Naruto leaned in to inspect the image warily, the beginnings of a frown tugging at his whiskered cheeks. What about him? He went dark the same day you did, Cecil replied, vanished off the face of the earth, left his suit and that weird green stone of his behind. Nobody's seen him since. And you think he's responsible? I think it's a lead. Cecil countered quickly, not wanting to get his hopes up, but unwilling to deny the possibility either. He was a real secretive fellow. No address on file, no known relatives, we didn't even know his real name. We've taken to calling him John Doe. John Stewart, actually. The agent blinked. You know him? I did, he traced the second photo with his thumb. At least, I thought I did. He hated himself for the doubt that crept into his words even as he spoke them. We were friends. Sure, there were things we disagreed on, who doesn't, but we had a barbecue with him and the Guardians almost every other Sunday. BSTRD always did make the best steak this side of the block. Something dark and ugly curdled in his chest. John wouldn't have been able to stop him, not alone, not for long, but his powers he could have immobilized him. He'd always been weak against ghosts, certainly those he couldn't hit. It would have been easy for him to stab him in the back, thereby giving someone else the chance to take him out. He never would have seen it coming. Not from him. Not John. No. But why? He didn't know. It concerned him. Naruto. I'm fine. He would make himself now. Taking a deep breath to center himself, he fixed Cecil with a stern stare. Where is Stewart now? I want a word with him. Cecil heaved a sigh and he just knew he wouldn't like his answer. We can't find him. Knew it. He scoffed and leaned back in his chair. Excuse me. You're the GDA. Finding people is what you do. Yeah, well, we can't find this guy, came the counter. Haven't had any luck at all. At the time I thought it coincidence, or someone was going around knocking off heroes, but nothing. Cecil thumped a fist on the table, momentarily. Losing his temper. Stewart vanished like his namesake. If he's alive and involved in this, he probably fled the country if he knew what was good for him. Which means he's not in the States. If you're saying he's out of your jurisdiction. Between you and Nolan, the entire world feels like my goddamn jurisdiction these days. Another photo slid across the table, one he didn't recognize. The current green ghost is a girl by the name of Alana, as you know, and surprise surprise, she's working with the Guardians, just like her mentor before her. He stiffened. Are you saying she's involved? Hardly. She young, wasn't even born back when this happened. Still, she might know something, maybe ask her. He took the photo, folded it, and tucked it into his jacket pocket. Oh, I'll do more than ask. Please, don't. It was a testament to their former friendship that he didn't make it an order. Even so, the remark sparked something in him. I don't work for you, Cecil. Don't I know it? Stedman dragged a hand down his face, inadvertently tugging at his eye patch as he went. You're a rogue asset. Off-leash. Trying to control. You would be like trying to put handlebars on a hurricane, he shrugged. Can't be done. Let's face facts, you're the only BSTRD on this planet, who can fight Omni-Man to a standstill. To say nothing of any other interstellar friends. Did he know? Have you been spying on me? Cecil rolled his remaining eye. Course, I've been spying on you, I'm trying not to PSS you off. Doing a rather poor job of that. Buddy, I've already prevented 3 assassination attempts, 5 kidnappings, and at least 7 bombings on your property. And that was just this week. He grimaced. It had seemed strangely peaceful as of late. I can handle it. But you shouldn't have to, kid. Much to his surprise, his old comrade stood, circled round the table and laid a hand on his shoulder. If you spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, expecting someone's tack you, or stab you in the back, you're going to become a paranoid wreck. Is that what you want, for you, or your kids? His temper strained against its leash, chomping at the bit, itching to lash out. He shouldn't have come here, shouldn't be entertaining this offer in the first place. He was already livid with Cecil, seeing him, face to face, or only provoked him further. Despite that, he somehow wrestled it down. And then the oaf opened his mouth. Look, I get it, I F up, but... You did more than that. Naruto burst to his feet, slapping the man's hand aside as he went, eyes wild. They had me hooked up to machine for years, my kids grew up without me. I'm trying to make up for years of absence and my wife. His throat closed and he choked, unable to finish the word. He pivoted and lashed out at the first thing he found. Namely, the wall. Credit where it was due, the padded cell held, absorbing his punch, until it didn't. The sheer concussive force behind it, the magnificent momentum was simply too much. Material shredded, metal warped, twisted, bulged outward, blasting a gaping hole through and out the other side. A series of shocked faces stared back, took one look at his blazing eyes and fled in fear. Shame stirred within him, but he shunted it aside, dragging a hand across his face. There could be no denying it now, his temper wasn't what it once was. I used to be calmer than this. Need to stay in control. Cecil didn't dare approach him, which was good, he'd lose an arm if he did, but when he spoke there was genuine sorrow in his voice. How much longer does Polly have? He bit back on a growl. I don't know. We could. I said I don't know DMN. He glared at the ceiling. I'm looking into ways to keep her alive, and happy, if nothing else. He knew what Stedman would say next and hated him for it. If, and I do mean if, she passes away. What's wrong, Cecil? He rounded on him, looming large, fingers clenching into claws at his sides. Afraid I'll snap. Go postal. Lose my mind. No, he shook his head, blonde, bangs, swinging, I have a family to protect, friends I can't neglect, so I'm not taking chances here. And then, because he saw the doubt in his eyes. I do what I must for the ones I love. If that means cultivating a few friends here and there, then so be it. I don't waste talent. Neither do you. Somehow, the man stood his ground. Friends, huh? Like old Engstrom Levy? And the Mahler twins? Or this Anissa girl you've become so fond of? A blonde brow rose. Anissa? Don't play coy, you and Little Miss Alien tore things up on the eastern seaboard and nearly rutted like a pair of wild animals. That's hard to miss. No idea what she said to get you so riled up, though. It was both a statement and a question all wrapped up in one. The man was fishing for answers. His lips pursed, forming a thin line of defiance as he refused to take the bait. You don't want to share. Fine. Congrats to you and Polly on keeping her contained, by the way, but it still doesn't change the fact that you're keeping some pretty shady company. Naruto bristled at the insinuation. What choice did I have? You left me to rot. This again. Cecil flung up a hand. I didn't know. If I had, I would have busted you out of there in an instant. If I weren't running this place, I'd be out there busting kneecaps with you. Words, words, words. He whirled away from Stedman. You talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. Don't I? His former boss didn't back down. I could be an ass about this. The GDA's got egg on its face, we look like SHT because of what happened to you, we've bitten that bullet. Haven't blamed you, or asked you to make a statement exonerating us. But at some point you have to accept that we're on the same side. He craned his neck back to glare at him. And which side is that? Earth. Cecil was actually brave enough to elbow him, which made him tougher than most. That, or suicidal. Something big is coming, kid. I don't know what, or when, or where, but it is. Call it an old man's intuition. And when it does, we need to be ready to stand against it. All of us. Together. The ghost of a smile graced Naruto's face despite his best efforts to hide it. You're not that old. My point still stands. We were friends once. Partners, so speaking, he offered him his hand. You did good work for the GDA back when you were Fire Shadow. Not that you aren't anymore. He waved that hand about toward him and the subsequent temperature spike off until the blaze in his eyes faded. You were hero to the people, a beacon. You still can be. Under your supervision. Naruto couldn't keep the sneer from his voice, so he didn't. I think not. I have a family to raise now, I won't be taking orders from you. Neither will my children. Cecil shook his head, surprising him yet again. I'm not asking you and yours to work for me, but with me. God knows I wish I could do the latter, but I know you'll never agree to that, not after what you've been through. Do what's best for your family. If not for the sake of our friendship, then for them, I won't be around forever. The next guy who takes my spot might not be so agreeable. He scoffed. Is that a threat? I thought you don't do threats. A shrug was his reward. Wish I could say people change, but they don't, not really. All I'm asking, is you keep an eye on Miss Space Invader. She's up to something, and I don't like the look at it. He waited for more, but it never came. That's it? That's it. Cecil's head bobbed once in a grim nod. I'll admit, I have some ulterior motives. Your kid, and Mark, they're good friends. Someday they might be something more. A kid with even a fraction of their powers would be invincible, he offered. A chuckle. Not the word I'd use. He was making some very good arguments, much to his annoyance. And he was so very tired of being angry with one of the few friends he had left. Cecil pushed the envelope further. Look me in the eye, and ask me again if I was involved in that shitshow. You can tell if someone's lying, can't you? Tell you what, if I am, you can tear my head off. How's that sound? Facing him fully, he took a step forward to glower down at Stedman, once and for all. Were you involved? No. An immediate response, stoic in its surety. Naruto blinked, momentarily taken aback by what he found in the man's remaining eye, or rather the lack thereof. No doubt, no uncertainty, no guile. He was telling the truth. Whatever his motivations now or in the past, Cecil Stedman didn't have anything to do with that dark, devastating day. And he did have his family to look out for. What was the saying again? The devil you know. He pinched the bridge of his nose. I can't believe I'm even considering this. To his credit, Cecil didn't perk up. He was better than that. He simply planted both hands in his pockets and waited. BSTRD was good at that. Waiting. Making sense. He wasn't above making deals with good guys or bad guys, the problem was, Cecil was technically neither. The emotional part of him wanted to just tear his head off anyway, and be done with it, to eliminate all possibilities, even if he hadn't been involved. But he made a valid point. Still, he had to be wholly certain. What separates a man from a SLV, Cecil? His old friend blinked at that, briefly taken back. What kind of question is that? Money? Naruto ignored his remark and ticked down his fingers, impatiently counting them one by one. Power? Fame? No. A man chooses. A SLV obeys. Maybe you're a SLV to your government, or maybe you're doing what you think is right. And maybe you believe that. It doesn't matter. Because I don't care about your government. Are you a man, Cecil? Or are you a SLV? Cecil planted his feet, crossed both arms before his chest, lifted his chin and stared him dead in the eye. A man. And I always will be. He granted him a nod. Good answer. What, you want some song and dance about how we should be friends again? Let bygones be bygones. Act like nothing happened. No, here at last his smile faltered a little. We're well past that. I don't work for you, and you certainly don't work for me, but you're right, we can't afford to be enemies anymore either. Comrades, then, he offered him his hand again. If you can stand to work with me. Naruto accepted it and shook, squeezing the man's fingers until he felt the bones beneath creak. I've already taken my PND of flesh. We're square. For now, the words were left unspoken. Cecil might screw up in the future, and if he did, there would be a price to pay. It would likely be his life. That's fair, Cecil squeezed his hand in return, not as firmly, he couldn't, he simply didn't have that kind of strength, it's like you said. I don't waste talent. I use it. And you? You're one talented son of a bitch. My mother was a wonderful lady, thank you very much. Cecil exhaled and dropped his arm. Heh. You know, for a second there, I thought things were going to get ugly. In another world, they might have. He had no counter against him, no leverage that wouldn't result in mutually assured destruction. And if he tried laying a hand on his children, on his wife, they both knew where that road would lead. Despite his capitulation, he had the upper hand here. Not Cecil. Not the government. Him. You get one opportunity, he raised a finger, waving it before his face. You turn on me, and I will tear your entire organization down on your balding head. Are we clear? Another shot at the hair, huh? We can't all have demigod genes. Naruto growled. Cecil. All right. We're clear. Crystal. A small part of him released a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Right, then. They were in the clear. Nothing could stop him now. Kurama growled sullenly in his ear. Don't jinx it. Almost on cue, his phone rang. What did I just say? Irritated, he snatched it from his pocket and placed it to his ear. What? One of the Mauler twins answered. We've got trouble. He heard an explosion in the background. His eyes widened. A building crumbled in the chaos of battle. Beneath it, a little girl screamed and covered her face, desperate not to see the end of her life. War Woman raced their way, knowing she wouldn't make it in time. Someone beat her to it. A figure carved from of golden fire caught the rubble with one arm and wrenched it aside, safely lowering the collapsing building to the street before it could crush anyone. He pivoted and she glimpsed the child nestled in his arms, giggling a little as he said something and patted her head. He set her down and shooed her toward her parents. Naruto. That smile faded the moment he saw them. Oh gods, he wasn't here to help them, was he? Sure enough, he confirmed it a moment later as he stepped between them and the Maulers. They were, all of them, here. Darkwing, the Immortal, War Woman, Red Rush, Aquarius, Martian Man, even the Green Ghost herself. She still didn't feel good about their chances. You seriously couldn't help yourselves, could you? His voice, once so sunny and smiling, now dripped with the darkest derision as he stood between them and their fallen foes. Did they even start this fight? Or did you? The Immortal bridled. They're building some sort of machine in that warehouse behind you. Help us destroy it. Naruto rolled his eyes. Of course they're building a machine, I paid them to. Darkwing choked. You what? Realization dawned, and War Woman winced within it. It's for Polly, isn't it? He winked her way. I'll give you 2 guesses, first 2 don't count. Red Rush inched forward. They're wanted criminals. They were, I'll give you that. Naruto's nod was curt, almost militaristic. Now they work for me. There's a difference. Pivoting, he helped the big bruisers to their feet, muttered something to them, and sent them on their way. Off you go. Battle's over. There's work to be done. With a smirk, the big blue brutes wandered back into the warehouse. None dared follow them for fear of crossing Fire Shadow. Not even the Immortal himself, for all his surly staring. When he made to leave however, War Woman caught him by the wrist. "Hold a moment. We need to talk." Blank blue eyes met hers, deep and fathomless as the ocean. "Do we?" "I have nothing to say." He walked away, only for her to grab his wrist. "Not this time. Talk to me." His gaze flitted down to her fingers, still gripping his arm. "Let go." She didn't, if only because she knew what he would do. "Not until you hear me out. I'm warning you." His phone rang again, but this time, he knew who it was. He took great pleasure in raising it high and showing her the caller ID. "Would you look at that? It's for you." War Woman accepted it. "Hello." Cecil's voice snarled at her through the speakerphone. "The F are you doing?" "I just made peace with the kid." "Get out of there." "But the Maulers. I didn't know they were with him." "Now clear out. Preferably before he levels a city block." The rest of the Guardians hesitated as the phone was passed around to each of them in turn. Naruto retrieved it from Red Rush last, grinning. "Ear to ear. Go ahead. Do as you're told. After all, good soldiers follow orders." Her spirit bridled at the challenge, if only because she knew what would happen. It hurt her to see him like this, all sharp, jagged edges, his smile a razor's edge ready to cut. They had been such close friends, once. She might have snatched him up for herself before Polly came along. Where had everything gone wrong? Aquarius raised a finny hand, oblivious to the danger. "It's 7-1, chum." Blue eyes blazed red. "I like those odds." No one moved. "You want me to call Nolan?" Naruto held up his phone anew, prepared to end the call with Cecil and summon someone far worse. "Because I can. I've got him on speed dial, and let me tell you, he won't be happy you've interrupted his vacation with Debbie." Green Ghost raised an anxious arm. "I say we leave." "Ha!" Naruto barked a laugh, sharp and angry. "This girl's got a good head on her shoulders. You know what? Fine. This is good timing. I've been meaning to talk to you anyway. See, I have several questions for little Miss Green Ghost over there." War Woman looked to the girl in question. The poor waif waved her arms, showing she had no clue. Her ignorance, supposed or otherwise, didn't save her. Nor any of them for that matter. Kurama burst from Naruto's back in golden glory, arms crossed before his chest. The blonde began cracking his knuckles, one by one. "You're gonna give me answers." Polly stepped through the portal after Angstrom Levy, stepping forth into another dimension without fear. The room itself had seen better days, as had this world, but she supposed that was the point. After all, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Anissa was only a few steps behind, warily emerging through the green gateway with a sullen scowl. "This is your home in another dimension. Bit of a fixer-upper, isn't it?" She huffed. It was all she could do not to smile at her and tickle her ribs. Such a skittish Viltrumite. For all her claims of strength and pride, she really was quite fearful towards the concept of change. As though she weren't changing already. Naruto had laid the groundwork there, the railroad tracks, if you would. It fell to her to run the train over them, straight into her heart. Full steam ahead. Choo-choo. Alas, all those thoughts and more were wiped away as she beheld her prize. Levy had left it in full view for her, the smug BSTRD. Her eyes widened at what she found there, one hand coming up to cup her mouth. "Is that what I think it is? I do not understand." Anissa shook her head as she gazed at the machine. "What even is that?" Polly allowed herself to smile. "A solution." Levy sketched a low bow as she looked his way. "It took me quite some time to find a universe like this, let alone what you were looking for, never mind intact." He had the good grace to look suitably embarrassed at least, but she supposed that was a given, since Anissa had barely paused to throw on a nightgown before following him, or a sweats and a hoodie in her case. For what it's worth, I hope you succeed. Such a charming young man. And I'll be sure to relay word of your assistance to Naruto. He beamed. Would you? I didn't do this for him. Polly patted him on the back like a proud parent. You did this because you wanted to help. That's what you do, isn't it? Help people. He stood just a little taller, pleased by her praise. I suppose so. And this world? Is it safe? A distant tremor rattled the ceiling above them. Not as such, but that's what have your friend for. Poor Anissa, relegated to being a bodyguard. She probably didn't enjoy it. Nonsense. Sure enough, Anissa's scowl deepened as she scowled at her salvation. You do not need this. My people may be able to cure you. Polly rounded on her, a hint of steel in her gaze. And how far away is that cure? Will I even live to see it? Or will your regent scoff at me and cast me aside? The silence was her answer, she didn't know for certain. Make no mistake, I may be dying, she sniffed up at her, quietly indignantly, but I don't intend to go quietly. No, she needed this. A cure or a stopgap, she wasn't sure which, but something was better than nothing, and this something would buy her precious time. As for Naruto, well, this was either gonna blow her husband's socks off or PSS him off right and proper. She wasn't entirely sure which, she supposed that made it all the more exciting. Pivoting to face her unlikely allies, Polly Uzumaki coughed once into a fist, cleared her lungs, and stood tall. From there, she tugged up her hoodie, clasped both hands behind her back with a smile. Shall we begin? The roof ruptured above them, raining down dust and rubble on their heads. Well, well, well. A masked figure in gold and black and orange descended from on high, lazily gliding down through the gap, long golden cape trailing behind them as they smiled. What do we have here? A group of rats scurrying in my maze? I didn't think there was anyone left. Her poor, injured heart skipped a beat. You can run, if you like, he flicked a hand their way, almost dismissively. After all, it's been so long since I had someone to chase. I'll even give you a head start. Angstrom backed up. Polly didn't blame him. The poor fellow wasn't equipped to fight something like this. Something like him. Already her BLD, what little of it she had left ran cold through her veins. Who was that? She couldn't quite tell with the mask, but that voice, those colors, that smirk, why, it almost looked like no, that couldn't be right. Angstrom had already explained as much. This was a different dimension. The rules, people, were altered here, weren't they? Different circumstances, different events, different people. Had to be. After all, that couldn't be, there was just no, that was no. She refused to even utter their name, to honor their existence by acknowledging them any further than she already had. Polly gulped, still quietly anxious despite herself, such was the horror of what she was facing. Anissa? Now would be a really good time to let the monster out. The Viltrumite regarded the newcomer for a long moment, cracked her neck once and smiled. What have we here? A challenge? The intruder blinked, squinting at the warrior woman behind his carefully constructed facade. Who the hell are you? Her hand closed around his face, levering him into a wall. Your worst nightmare. Yeah, no. He turned his face aside with a bemused, slugged her in the stomach hard enough to make Polly and Angstrom flinch, leaving her doubled over, retching for air. From there he raised both fists high and delivered a mighty hammer blow to her back, smashing her into the floor. She struck the ground, bounced once, tried to roll over and rise. Hey, I remember you now, laughing, he planted a boot on her stomach, grinding her down, preventing her from getting up. You're the bee that jumped me a while back. Didn't I kill you already? Are you a ghost? Did I finally lose my mind? Anissa grunted and grabbed onto his heel, to no avail. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't extricate herself. DMNU. Damned, huh? The stranger leaned over her, leering. That about sums me up, huh? I've been damned for a while now thanks to you and your little empire, and here I thought I'd seen the last of your kind since Thrag. Now, he growled, grinding his boot into her torso, I don't know who brought you back to life or how after I tore your head off, and frankly I don't care. But I know this. A savage grin split the stranger's face, wide and feral. I'll enjoy killing you even more the second time. His fist descended like lightning. Polly cried out. Naruto. Paused, now. Polly. Baleful blue eyes swung her way. That was all the confirmation she needed. She tugged down her hood, freeing her hair, revealing her face to him. You too, huh? The stranger saw both and hissed out a breath trapped somewhere between a sob and a snarl. I'm seeing all sorts of ghosts today. I'm not a ghost, she took a trembling step forward, one hand over her heart. I'm real. Come and see for yourself. He stepped off Anissa's battered body, just as she hoped he would, giving her the chance to drag herself away. Angstrom hissed out a breath and tried to grab at her sleeve. Don't. Polly slipped out his grasp, well that she did too, because the stranger stood and removed his mask. Much to her horror, he looked exactly like her husband. A little leaner in the cheeks perhaps, a bit angrier, eyes bright and sharp, but it was undoubtedly the spitting image of her husband. He touched a hand to her cheek. Her face. Her forehead now, wholly at a loss. You're as appealing as the day I lost you, he muttered again, bereft. But you died, I saw you. He glared at Anissa, scowling as she hauled herself to her feet. You, I killed. And you, he looked to Angstrom, confused. I don't know you at all, I've never met you, his brow furrowed as he squinted his way. Who the hell are you? Was this a universe where everything went wrong? Stop, she begged of him, hands FSTNG against his costume. Just stop. Let us take this machine and go and we'll leave you in peace. Leave, panic bloomed in his eyes. No, he shook his head, latching onto her arm. No, you can't leave, I won't let you. Oh, dear. Anissa stumbled upright, wiping a thin line of BLD from her lips, we weren't asking. Naruto craned his neck back to regard her intently. You have spirit. More than my Anissa did, an ominous scarlet energy began to stem from his stomach, boiling around his shoulders. I'll give you a choice. Would you rather be torn apart like Conquest? Strangled like Thula? Or would you rather be trapped in the sun like Thrag? Choose wisely now. Conquest. Thula. Thrag. More names she didn't know. Yet she did know none of them stood a chance against him. Not here. And you, Dimension Hopper. Her not husband scowled at Angstrom. Maybe I should kill you on principle. If you die, there's no way home for them. Levi drew back, frightened, but unwilling to bolt without them. I could let you run, the scowling blonde mused. But you might return. Bring reinforcements. A hand rose, brimming with a wrathful sphere. I can't have that. Kill me if you like. Levi lifted his chin, not in defeat, but defiance. He'll stop you. He. The false Naruto looked between him and Polly, paused now. You can't be talking about Nolan. He's gone. Which means, she saw the moment realization dawn behind those baby blue eyes, and the savage smile that followed. Another me. Ha. So she was right about the whole multiverse theory after all. Still clutching her tight, he leaned forward to regard Angstrom. Tell me, what's this other me like? Is he strong? Does he have? Anissa spat BLD upon the floor. Nothing like you. He backhanded her in a blink, sending her flying. Broken bees shouldn't speak unless spoken to. Polly struggled in his grasp, to no avail. She couldn't break free. She was the only one he'd listened to, and he'd lost her. Wait. That was it. Her. A wild idea dawned in desperation. A mad idea. A appealing, brilliantly bombastic idea. The Maulers. Weren't they working for Naruto? Their cloning tech might not be able to help her just yet, but they could help this iteration of him, couldn't they? It hurt her to see him like this, for him to have fallen so far, his world in ruins, devoid of their children, of his Anissa, of anything and everything that could ever make him smile. Surely he deserved better. Did he not? This was clearly a world where he'd relied on her and her alone. With her passing, he'd fallen apart. Broken. She shuddered to think what might have become of their children. Had they died? Or were they taken? No, don't dwell on it. That said, any clone of her the Maulers made wouldn't exactly be his Polly now, would she? By his own accounts, she was already dead and gone. Some might argue that something was better than nothing, others might say this would be akin to spitting on the grave of this Polly Uzumaki by replacing her with a copy. It was a risk. A gamble to be sure. Perhaps the riskiest bet of her lifetime. Still, she'd made worse wagers than this and they'd paid off. After all, was not life itself one gigantic gamble? The house always won sooner or later. Time to see if she could beat the odds, one last time. Come back with us, she took him by the hands, idly stroking his palms in a way she knew relaxed the original. Let us help you. He scowled, but the tension began to bleed from him, further proof he was so like her husband. And how can you help me? She took a deep breath, steeled herself, and took the plunge. We can bring your wife back. His knees nearly buckled for a moment, until his eyes snapped into scarlet slits. Angstrom slapped a palm to his face. DMN bleeding heart. Her not husband paused, considering her. And then. His hands tightened around hers. Explain yourself. Quickly. The truth is often disappointing. Naruto had never really believed in that saying before, he'd always thought otherwise, the truth was supposed to set you free, that sort of thing, you know. But it didn't, not really, sometimes though the very answers you seek often leave you even more confused than before. Case in point, after a bit of roughhousing and demands on his part, the Guardians folded like a house of cards and answered his questions. Oh, yes, they had answers for him all right, just not the sort he was expecting. His interrogation of them could be summed up as follows. Yes, they knew about the original green ghost vanishing years ago. No, they hadn't the foggiest idea where he'd gone. Yes, they'd done everything in their power to find him. No, they weren't holding anything back, and yes, they were telling the truth. And oh, how could he ever believe they would try to hurt him? Hadn't they been friends? Comrades? He could sense their sincerity too, not lie or an iota of negativity among them. They were surprisingly honest, even if the immortal was a bit of an arse about it. Under any other circumstance, the sentiment might have shook him, but he was too angry to care. The trail, at least on that front, had gone cold. So back home he went, despondent, but at least secure in the knowledge that the GDA would leave the Mauler twins and their Poly project be. War Woman had assured him she would see to it personally. Only time would tell if her words withstood that test. Hells, she'd even been kind enough to fly him home. Kind being the operative word, not that he needed nor appreciated said kindness. Alighting neatly upon his porch beside him, she actually had the gall to pivot in place and regard his property with quiet curiosity. So this is where you live now. He glanced toward the hidden camera at the door and side-eyed her, careful to stand where he could be seen. Don't read into it. I'm not, she was quick to answer, but the first blow had already been dealt, that initial crack in the ice between them made. It's just nice to talk with you again. He snorted. Is that what we're doing? She faltered a little, but leaned against the railing and rallied. He'd give her credit for that. I heard you made up with Cecil. Blue eyes narrowed. Not the word I'd use. Sorry, she averted his gaze with a grimace, leaving him feeling a little ashamed. I never was one for small talk. A small, traitorous smile twitched at the corner of his lips. He ruthlessly suppressed it. You really weren't. Aha. She saw his smile and pounced. Didn't you have the opposite problem at first? His brow furrowed. How so? You always were a bit of a yapper. Kurama snorted. She's got you there. You too. Traitor. Outwardly, he refused to acknowledge it. Was I? He scoffed and turned away from her, unwilling to play her game, if indeed she was playing one at all. Funny, I seem to recall you braining me with that mace of yours when we first met. A hint of pink dusted her dark cheeks, her gaze hastily averted. You startled me. I literally tapped you on the shoulder and said hello. Simpler times. Happier times. Crazier times. Silence stretched between them. War Woman reluctantly broke it. Is Polly doing all right? Don't lash out. Best as she can be, I suppose. May I see her? He scowled. No. Naruto. War Woman, he countered sternly. Was she not getting the hints, here? Buzz off. We're not working, she tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, still blushing a little. At least call me by my name like old times. That had been a very long while ago. Holly, then, he grit his teeth, keenly aware of just how close it was to Polly's name. There. Happy now? What more do you want from me? He half expected her to flinch, cower in the face of his fury. Remarkably, she didn't. Instead, she lifted her chin, steeled herself and offered him her hand. Naruto blinked, baffled. What is this supposed to be, exactly? I want you to join the Guardians. When he made a baffled noise, she dared to push the envelope. Officially. We've saved you a space on the team. Was that what this was about? He barked a bitter peal of laughter, angry and sharp. I refuse. Categorically. Holly made a pained noise, the sound twisted at his heart. But why? I'm trying to make amends. By letting me into your secret club. Pass, he crossed both arms before his chest. Hard pass. I already told Cecil I'm not taking orders from him, I certainly won't from the likes of Immortal. You wouldn't have to, she touched one hand to the emblem just below her throat. Idly he realized she'd worn her hair down today, freeing it from its usual braids. It was a good look for her. I'm only asking you to work alongside us, like you used to in the beginning. He could feel a migraine coming on, he pinched the bridge of his nose in a vain attempt to stifle it. What do you really want here, Holly? I want things to go back to the way they were. War Woman didn't throw a tantrum, she was a grown woman and far too mature for that, but it was a near thing, her hands balled into fists at her sides. When we were friends, when we were a team. His temper slipped through his grasp. I wouldn't have stopped, you know. Now it was her turn to blink. What? If something happened to you, or any of the Guardians, he stepped to her, all but smashing his forehead against hers, nothing would have stopped me from hunting down the one responsible. I would have turned the earth inside out to find you. That's not fair, her voice peaked into a whine. We searched for years, tracked down every clue, expended every resources. We missed you. We mourned you. Lo. Kurama swore softly. Lo. Naruto went very still, gaining an awful inkling of where this was going. Polly would be thrilled. Him not so much. You. The Amazon's dark face had gone very red. Never mind, she squeaked, actually squeaked, the word out in great embarrassment. Forget that last bit. I don't think I can. This time she did stomp, it was adorable. Forget it. Not a chance. His smug smirk must have betrayed him because Holly buried her head in both hands and garbled something that might have been the distant cousin of an apology, he couldn't be entirely sure. Shaking his head, he took a big step backward. I don't need your help. No, she sulked back, you have your new alien friend for that. He flung up an arm. Does everyone know about Anissa? Subtle, she was not. He'd need to have a word with the Viltrumite about concealing her presence or Polly keeping her quiet at the very least. Ah, but War Woman was still staring at him. She looked so sad. Downright pitiful, even. He dragged a hand down his face and exhaled in a long-suffering sigh. I can't believe I'm even considering this. War Woman perked up. Tomorrow, he ground the word out before he could reconsider. I'll allow you to visit her tomorrow morning. But only if she allows it. He knew she would. Allows what? Imagine his surprise when Samantha even Uzumaki came soaring down out the sky just before he could speak further. Naturally, his daughter took one look at Holly and gasped. Oh, wow. You're actually War Woman. Dad, she glared his way, you didn't tell me you were friends with War Woman. Her enthusiasm was adorable, and misplaced. You've technically already met. But not like this. Don't mind me, Samantha. Holly, thankfully, had the good grace to smile and not reveal their argument. I was just leaving. Eve rounded on her, green eyes wide and hopeful. Will you come back tomorrow? War Woman looked his way. Naruto exhaled harshly through his nose. She will, but only if you and the kids want her to. I want. Eve bounded in place with a happy chirp. Very much. Naruto frowned, wondering what had gotten into her, and where have you been, young lady? Her smile faltered. War Woman saw her chance to bolt and took it, stepping back, she soared into the air and fled. For her part, young Eve beamed, hands clasped behind her back. Nowhere. His brow furrowed. That was all it took for her to fold like a house of cards. All right, she looked away, acting the part of a huffy teenager. I may have made a friend. Naruto felt his smile return. Had he been worried for nothing after all? That's great. Of the boy persuasion. Actually, scratch that. Not so great. Said friend has technically been a friend for a while, too. Getting worse now. And now he's my boyfriend, she chirped happily. Surprise? That's nice, dear. Wait, what? Naruto did a double take. And who might said boyfriend be? Mark. Nolan's kid? His right eye twitched. Is that so? Even noticed and latched onto his arm before he could take flight. Daddy, no. Daddy, yes. He drawled the last word, deliberately dragging out the S with intent. I just want to talk to him. Her grip redoubled. Talk to his dad, more like. The thought hadn't crossed my mind. Liar. Sage save him from surly daughters. Raising his arm and finding her dangling off it like a spider monkey, he granted her a flat look. You're still a kid, Eve. Don't care. She climbed up onto his arm, holding tight. I love him. Love. She was just a child. What did she know of love? Reluctantly, he lowered her back to the porch. If you say so. His daughter stomped a foot and gave him the most fearsome pout in existence. You promised you wouldn't act like my Fosters. Bit of a low blow there, but he could see where her concern stemmed from. She feared he would take control of her life. Just like the Wilkins did. I want, he reassured her, kneeling and laying a hand on her shoulder to better emphasize his words. That's a promise I aim to keep. When she sniffled, he was just as quick to wipe away her tears. I won't denigrate you for your powers, Eve. I won't make you feel small. I certainly won't control your life. No, she shuffled in place and refused to meet his gaze. Just my choice of boyfriends. Not even that, he disagreed with a laugh. Though I wish I could on that front. I need to look out for you and your siblings, that's all. Think, Eve, think, tapping a finger to her forehead, he rubbed his thumb in, drawing a whine from his eldest child. How would you feel if Josh went and got himself a girlfriend? She hesitated, but her feelings won out. I would be curious. And what of Luca? Jessica? Or little Amanda? She sputtered. They're too young. And yet you'd still try to protect them, wouldn't you? Keep them from getting their hearts broken. Well, yeah, duh, she said it was though it were the most obvious thing in the world. But Mark's not like that. He's nice. We're gonna get married someday. Naruto nearly choked on his own spit. Marriage? His baby girl? Not if anything to say about it, he had. Eve sighed. Dad, you're doing it again. Doing what? She poked his chest. Killing intent. He quickly ceased. I'm not gonna hurt him, I swear. Her gaze flicked up to his ever so briefly. Do you promise? He scoffed, tousled her hair, and rose to his feet. Have you ever known me to break a promise to anyone? Dad? He hummed, unlocking the door. She latched onto his waist and hugged him. I'm glad you found me. Burke. He faltered for a moment as the word struck him full force, sending a rush of heat to his face. He still wasn't used to being a father and times like these really showed. Better get her something extra nice for her birthday, kinda had to after a remark like that. Don't be hittin' your old man with critical hits you know. Spend more time workin' on your Raisingan. Samantha drew back with a manic giggle. Already did. Naruto whipped around, all thought of gifts and home momentarily forgotten. You did? Yup, as he looked on with immense paternal pride, his daughter conjured a perfect spiraling sphere, admittedly pink instead of the traditional blue, in her right hand. Beaming, she smashed into a barrier she conjured, breaking it apart with graceful ease. I even learned how to use molecules and slow people down in the air. She sounded particularly proud of that last one. Can you teach me the 8 gates now? Lee would approve, he felt. Still she was plenty powerful already. Did she really need something like that, too? Listen, Eve, he looked back to her, fiddling for the right key to turn the lock. Youth is a weapon. Learning to take an advice from others is also a weapon. Heck, if you're clever, even your smile can be a weapon, even your own voice if a pinch. That's what it means to train as a shinobi. Her head tilted, idly reminding him of her namesake. Not just a superhero. Sure, if you like, but my techniques aren't always the flashiest. Eve quirked an eyebrow. Okay, granted, some of them are. The other brow rose to join the former and stayed there. All right, he hung up his hands, a little chagrined. Most of them. But I've learned some sneaky stuff too. It's not all about explosions and power. For example, you can use your powers to create incredible things that will last. That's more than I can ever do. Is that why you have me studying architecture? Bingo, he snapped his fingers her way without looking. Molecules and atoms are all well and good, but you need to know how to hold what you create together. Otherwise it'll fall apart shortly after you make it. Maybe that's all well and good for some things, but if you aren't careful, anything you create will have a lasting effect on the environment. Her stomach growled, interrupting his lecture. Can we go inside now? All this talkin's making me kinda hungry. He waggled a blonde brow her way. I don't know, can you? She rolled her eyes. May I? That's my girl. You do realize I can literally deconstruct the door. We don't need keys. Using a key makes me feel normal. Aha. Found it. Laughing he swung the door open, Daddy's home. Humming to himself, he crossed the threshold and froze. Eve walked into his back. Everything was much as he left it and yet, not. Josh was sound asleep on the couch for reasons that soon became apparent as he beheld little Amanda tucked into the blonde boy's arms. He must have rocked her to sleep while they were away. Of Jessica and Luca, he saw no sign. They weren't the reason he'd frozen. There was a massive machine in the middle of his living room, a device dominating his vision, all gray and black, covered in strange symbols. No, not symbols, seals. He recognized the language of his people, of the shinobi, but to this degree, it was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Stranger still, he could sense chakra pumping inside it, the design a grim parody of human chakra coils. He could feel something circulating in there, a near-exact imitation of his own chakra, drowning out everything else in his mind's eye. Who had done this? Why was this in his home? The knee-jerk reaction was immediate. Abomination. Destroy it. He reared back. Daddy. Jessica bounded down from the ceiling. When had she gotten up there? And wrestled his arm down. Don't. Luca lunged out of the floor and caught his ankle before he could. She's nearly finished. She. Was Polly in that thing? Angstrom slid out the kitchen, cradling a tray of sandwiches. I made food. He saw him and paused. Impeccable timing. She'll be emerging any moment now. 1 cue, the machine irised open with a rush of steam. Polly stumbled out of the pod, looking pale, but alive. She fell to a knee, clutched her mouth, looked like she might vomit for a moment, then rallied. He could feel chakra burning within her, a lighthouse beacon cutting through the storm of his thoughts. Had the machine transplanted chakra coils into her? If so, how? And from whom? He could feel it supporting her weakened organs, not healing them, not quite, but giving her ruined internals a much-needed boost, despite the pain their carving must have caused. Okay, she gasped, retching on the ground, never doing that again. Eve balked. Mom. Oh shitnastic, she looked up, saw them, and somehow had the good grace to flush. I didn't think you'd be back yet. Surprise? Eve darted forward to give her a hurried hug, burying her head into her shoulders. Swear. Ehehe, guess that's another tip for the swear jar. Naruto twitched. He would have done more, were it not for the children currently dangling off his limbs. He took a deep breath and released it with an effort. Polly, you. Was it, now? Josh awoke on the couch with a groan, inadvertently pulling young Amanda with him. Oh, hey, Dad's back. A muscle jumped in Naruto's jaw. Polly, what did you do? His wife stood, cradling Eve in her arms. Alright, but you can't be. Too late, he slashed a hand forward, sending his children swinging with a happy squeal. Already am. Jessica and Luca laughed nervously, still hanging on to him. He glowered at them. You too. Off. The twins scarpered over to Josh, and well that they did. He didn't trust himself to stay in control right now. I don't understand. Rounding on his wife, he glowered at her, absolutely thunderous. I didn't build this machine. He would have remembered something like that, never mind the decades of work it must have taken to construct so delicate a device, and there was no one else in this world who possibly could without him. This isn't my handiwork. You're right, his wife kicked at the floor, scuffing the carpet. It's not. Which begged the inevitable question. If not me, then, who? Me. A hatch in the ceiling irised open and someone came rocketing through, alighting in a pointed crouch before him. To be fair, he'd heard the newcomer long before we saw them, but the voice alone was enough to root him where he stood. Baffled, he cast the desperate, confused glance towards Polly, who granted him a sheepish smile. Anissa was only a heartbeat behind through the hatch, looking absolutely harassed and out of breath for the first time since he'd met her. Forgive me, she grumbled under her breath. He wanted to explore. I couldn't keep up with him. The masked man rose and laughed with thinly veiled scorn. Slowpoke. She snarled at him. Impudent oaf. Naruto blinked 3 times. He blinked hard. At first, he found himself at a loss. What was that black and gold and orange outfit, and what was that ridiculous yellow cape? To say nothing of the golden mask. Thankfully it didn't have any garish goggles or any such thing, but the sight of it rankled him all the same. But no, as he spied the hair and recognized the whiskered cheeks, he began to understand. And then the masked BSTRD reached up and removed his mask. He was looking at himself, or rather, a version of himself. Hello friend. Was this one of his shadow clones? No, he sensed Kurama within him. Naruto tilted his head. Naruto did the same. Naruto gazed upon Naruto. A moment of silence followed. And then. What in the actual F? I can explain. Angstrom set his tray down and raised a hand to forestall an argument. He's you. Or rather, a counterpart of you. We secured his assistance with that machine over there to help Polly with her experiment. His wife waved a hand and set Eve down, beaming as though the results of this experiment somehow absolved her of the chaos she'd caused. Well, the portal user shrugged helplessly. The results speak for themselves. You're welcome, his other self smirked. It took me ages to build that machine. I'm glad to see it finally used for its intended purpose. Must not punch. Who are you? Who am I? The colorfully clad man laughed. That's a surprisingly difficult question. I couldn't become who I was supposed to be, so who does that make me now? Alright, this is weird. His other self tilted his head. Tell me about it. It's like looking in a warped mirror. What do I even call you? He bridled, indignant. Hey, hey. This is my universe. Far as I'm concerned, I'm the original. The lucky one, more like. Your universe didn't go to hell in a handbasket. Mine did. Josh raised his hand, idly munching on a sandwich. So does this mean we have 2 dads? Here at last, his dystopian self looked positively aggrieved. Polly giggled in the background. No, sweetie. But he looks like Dad. I'm not. His other self made an annoyed noise. I only ever had 1 wife and 1 daughter, he cast a pointed glance toward Eve. I don't know who these other ones are. Eve perked up. There's another me. His doppelganger shook his head. There was. Some things are best left unsaid. Oh. Eve looked away, suitably crestfallen. Maybe this a little too heavy for the little ones, Angstrom suggested. Josh scoffed. What? No. You're not keeping us out of this. We wanna watch. Polly looked like she might argue to that effect, and would have, if it weren't for the laughter of his darker counterpart. Call me Sinister. The other Naruto crossed both arms before his gold-on-black chest. It's a name that stuck with me in my world after I took over. Naruto's throat closed as his mouth briefly went dry. Took over. Wait, you're not Fire Shadow? A shake of the head was his reward. No. I cast that aside a long time ago. Not that I ever wanted that stupid hat anyway. Naruto recoiled, seriously stung by the insinuation. Then you're not me at all. Aren't I? His other self tapped a finger to his forehead. I have your face, your chakra, your version of Kurama. I'm smarter, I'm better, but also lesser, because I lack the one thing you have. Wasn't hard to put 2 and 2 together there, and it left him proper tense. You don't have a family anymore, do you? Sinister, Naruto scoffed aloud, a bitter noise tinged with pain. Give the man a prize. There's no prize here. You lost your wife. I didn't. It was the wrong thing to say, Sinister growled at him, mashing his teeth. Careful now. And what's with the get-up? He glanced up and down the length of him, dismayed. Don't you know the golden rule? No capes. Those are for losers. How about I strangle you with it? Whoa, Hey. Polly interposed herself between them before they could come to blows. Calm down, both of you. We promised to help him. Naruto glowered bloody red daggers at him. In exchange for what? Me, not murdering all of you and taking your Polly for myself. He snarled, chakra boiling. I'd like to see you try. You're about to. Stop. Polly wrestled his other self away, while Anissa did the same for him. It was the testament to his own emotional turmoil that he wasn't able to immediately break free from her grasp. Boys, the both of you, she snarled into his ear. Stop, comparing your D. Levi coughed into a fist. There are children present. Sinister Naruto had the good grace to blanch. My apologies. Naruto winced as well, albeit for different reasons. Polly, you shouldn't strain yourself, you're still sick. Sinister frowned, broke free, and turned a baleful blue eye on his wife. You're not well. Now it was his turn to frown. Wasn't yours ill as well? What are you talking about? Just as quickly as it had come, that brief burst of empathy vanished. No one ever laid their hands on my wife. I didn't let them. Polly lived a good long while before the invasion. Josh and Luca blinked, but it was Jessica who piped up. Invasion? As in aliens? Eve ruffled her hair and pulled Amanda into her lap. What else would it be? Aunt Anissa doesn't look like an alien, though. Anissa had gone very quiet. He'd be sure to question her on that later. So you mean you were never captured? Experimented on? A blonde brow rose, supreme in its scorn. Were you truly that weak? Or just too trusting? Eve bridled. Hey! That's my dad you're talking about. Be nice. Nice? Sinister rounded on her. Dear daughter, you have no idea. No, wait, what he's saying makes sense. Angstrom thumbed his chin, head bobbing in a nod. I told you that I've met multiple versions of you, scarce though they were. You've all been through different circumstances, doubtlessly, so has this one. Why, I once met a Naruto who called himself Vanguard. He even claimed to be the son of conquest. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author NeonZangetsu on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.